US, perhaps stung into action.
A lot of shock, a lot of anger.
Come on, then!
And our first subject of today is about a Korean man named Kim who owns 20 goldfish and he keeps them in a small aquarium inside his home. The sad news is that some of them contract a marine disease called swim bladder disease. What follows is a heartwarming story of a selfless man who went the extra mile to save his infected goldfish from facing premature death. Swim bladder disease is quite common among many species of fish raised in aquarium. While normal goldfish float right side up as well as can change elevation in the water as they wish, those with this disease do just the opposite. That is, they float upside down or sink to the bottom of the tank, which ultimately result in their ultimately death. By properly controlling the amount of gas in its bladder, a fish can then control its own buoyancy, which is defined as the force exerted on a fish or any object that is partly or wholly immersed in a fluid. On average, a healthy goldfish can live anywhere from 10 to 15 years, while one of these disorders will die within just several short months. Understanding the underlying medical problem, Kim, a fashion designer by trade, came up with the device he called wheelchair to keep his diseased fish afloat. The wheelchair keeps his goldfish stay alive by helping them to gain better control of their buoyancy in the water. We don't yet know how long this device can prolong the lives of those diseased fish, but the encouraging news, so far the wheelchair has managed to keep them alive for 5 months beyond the expected time frame.
Last year was absolutely a tough year for everyone as the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak and social distancing is applied, resulting in many public areas being closed. Most countries locked down the whole cities, and people have to stay home to reduce social contacts. Apart from these effects, the pandemic also exposed gender inequalities once again, and particularly in English youth sports. Well, just when most people thought that discrimination between genders no longer exists, it is brought up once again. All started from the unintelligent decision made by the FA that elite sports are going to be reopened. An elite sport isn't a particular sport, but rather are standards. The sport which has more resources meets the standards, which clearly pointed at sports that men played because the sports that they play are invested into more, while the women's sport are at the dearth of resources because rarely any investments are put into the clubs. Especially in football, boys training could remain open under elite protocols, but girls clubs would have to suspend all activities throughout the lockdown. Lisa Bloor, mother of a young female footballer, Abby Clark, received heartbreaking and irritating news from her 16-year-old daughter's club, Everton, that girls cannot attend classes. But what she can see is that boys' clubs are teaching like usual. After 2 weeks of Abby's training alone and kicking a ball against the wall, Ms. Bloor said that she could afford to restart Abby's training, but she was dismayed that many other girls were not as fortunate. People on Twitter and other female footballers who are also suffering this FA rule trended a hashtag called "Is it because I am a girl?" to confront the unintelligent decision made by a well-known organization like the FA.
According to a Vietnamese press, on the 2nd of April, China authorities issued an order to H&M to edit its map to include China 9- line on its website, which the fashion retailer is said to have complied with. So this action of China was believed to add pressure on the conflict with Western governments over the China policies in the Xinjiang region. The declarations have resulted in massive indignation against H&M in Vietnam. The hashtag Boycott H&M is now trending on Vietnamese social media, calling for netizens to turn their backs on the fashion brand. On the 7th of April, Faro, one of the biggest e-commerce platforms in Vietnam, amid an increasing boycott against H&M products among Vietnamese consumers in response to the posting. Besides, there are other statements saying that this is an action that H&M was forced to do in order to save its market in China, one of the countries with the highest consumer rate. In the past, the Vietnamese government has cited historical records and international laws to state that the parasol and Spratly Islands belong to Vietnam. According to many Facebook users, The H&M stores in Saigon and Hanoi were less crowded for the first few days. However, recently there was a clip showing that the stores were filled up again as there were many sale promotions being operated. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Vietnam, all forms of propaganda and promotion of content contrary to historical truth and international law are invalid and cannot change the reality of Vietnam's sovereignty in the South China Sea. Enterprises operating in Vietnam need to respect and strictly enforce the provisions of the laws of Vietnam. After a month, H&M has yet to make any official comment regarding the event, so we will have to wait and see what H&M will do in the face of this backlash. The answer is Sweden. So not many people think of Sweden as an island nation, but in fact, Sweden has a lot of islands. In total, there are over 260,000 islands in Sweden, and they can be found largely along its eastern coastline.
On Tuesday, 13th of April 2021 evening, MCHD, Mobile County Health Department, released a press report on consequences of quarantine and lockdown on physical and mental health. Specifically, 14 days quarantine period along with infection fears, restriction, boredom, inquiry supplies, inquiry information, financial loss, and stigma inflicted personal burden on student well-being. February 2021, an anonymous woman was imprisoned at a Central California Women's Facility, or CCWF. They kept us in our room all day during quarantine. Almost every single day, someone tested positive. There was depression, confusion, fear, anxiety, stress, and much more, she stated.
The health response must be more robust, holistic, long-term, and become a routine part of general global humanitarian disaster.
Children also stressed from depression, exacerbating performance in online learning and lack of outdoor activities. Hayden Hustable, a 12-year-old who loved his friends, family, and football, hanged himself in his room just one day before his 13th birthday.
Count with me, sir. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep doing them, sir, okay? 1.
His father could see change in his behavior.
What I saw is indescribable.
Due to these negative effects, CDC, the Center for Disease Control, modified quarantine duration back to 10 days. However, numerous opposing views frighten the virus incubation period between being exposed to the virus and when symptoms start, may outlast longer than 14 days. The guideline of quarantine period was set by World Health Organization and Center for Disease, according to the data they have collected. The majority of newborns still underwent surgery without anesthetic. Only muscle relaxations were given to keep them from pressing around during the operation. It wasn't until 1987 that the American Academy of PRJ formally declared it unethical to operate on newborns without anesthetic. Lucifer is referred to as the devil or Satan, best known as personification of evil. However, the devil was once a beautiful angel named Lucifer, who defied God and fell from the grace.